everyone. My name is Stefan D. Boning, and welcome to episode 19 of the Flow University YouTube channel. In this week's episode, we'll be talking about restorative fitness, the aspect of fitness that a lot of individuals underappreciate and that a lot of people sweep under a rug, but pays tremendous dividends in aiding your body in adapting to the environment that you have been placing it within. A lot of individuals, they get caught up in the whirlwind of everyday life and they do not give themselves time to stop and relax. In this week's episode, 5 keys will be given away that you can implement into your everyday life in practicality. I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode of the Flow University YouTube channel. Let's get started. Every person needs to take one day away, a day in which one consciously separates the past from the future. Jobs, family, employers, and friends can exist one day without any one of us. And if our ego permits us to confess, they could exist externally in our absence. Maya Angelou. Going into key number 1, relaxation. Specifically, having the ability to have hobbies, hanging out with friends, and taking a time where you are not pushing forward. What will happen with a lot of individuals within modern society is that they give into hustle culture and they believe that they have to do more, that they have to continue to push the needle forward in order to see progress. But a lot of times what this does is this causes unnecessary damage, stress, and tension to be placed not just on the body, but in other aspects of your life, so much so that you become overbearing. And this leads oftentimes in sticking with fitness to overtraining, where you're continuing to place so much stress and load onto the body that the body doesn't have time to adapt to the environment that you're placing it within. And a lot of times what will happen is that when you don't take a time to sit back and relax, that this tension can become toxic and it can become in such a sense where you are not allowing things to flow, where you are essentially placing yourself within the midst of it. And this first key is really getting out of your own way, allowing things to take its natural course and not getting so in the midst of things that you can't allow things to move on without you. And so a lot of times this happens with individuals with work. They will take their work home and they'll immediately, everything becomes about work. They'll essentially marry their job and they can never have an off day. They can never have a second where their brain can shift to something else. And there are individuals where they become addicted to training, where everything becomes about health, wellness, and fitness, but not in the sense of where it's trying to not just help them and improve their fitness and helping others, but if they don't believe that they're doing something, they don't believe that they're making progress. And so what individuals need to understand is that sometimes progress happens in peaks and valleys, that you'll see a large uphill, but then immediately afterwards, you might see a small downhill before there's an increase in productivity. And so this is allowing you to understand that there's peaks and valleys, but also that if you're in a valley or if you're in a period where your performance isn't the best, then this means that you need to allow yourself to sit back for a second, allow your mind to shift to different things. For myself, I've had some of my greatest bouts of performance after rest days, after cheat days, after days where I wasn't consciously thinking about either work or the tasks I was doing or the type of training that I was about to engage in. It was times where I was just essentially just allowing myself to think about different things. And so what will happen is that a lot of times you never give your body the chance to work on and improve itself because you're always placing it within certain situations where you have to consciously be in control of everything. And so this is taking your hand off of that reign of control for a second and allowing your body to do what it's good at. Everyone's seen this at work or in everyday life where there's that person where they always have to be in control. They always have to have their foot on every single thing that's going on. And no one likes this kind of person because others never have the chance to shine. Others never have the chance to display their unique abilities and qualities. And so everything is a mirror within this existence. And so just how this mirror is being shown on the outside, how some people when they put their hands in certain things and never allow others to express their uniqueness, this same thing happens within self. And so within self, individuals will continue to allow their ego to direct things, but the ego, sometimes you need to let the ego just, hey man, chill for a second, I got this. And so this is why you need to engage in hobbies. You need to hang out with friends, and hanging out with friends in non-stressful situations. Guys, competing with friends, that doesn't lead to healthy friendships. Yes, you can compete with friends in healthy ways, like if you guys are playing a sport recreationally, but if it gets to the point where it gets serious, then it can place stress and tension on the friendship, because now you go into the mindset of competition and it takes the playfulness out of the activity. And so when you are hanging with friends, don't have this mindset of competition with them and you're trying to compare and contrast yourself. You became friends with them because there was a unique connection that you guys had. And so that needs to be the focal point. And then this can allow your relationships to get deeper. But if you go into friendships immediately trying to compare, contrast, and determine who's better, who's worse in certain things, and then you immediately after that, there's this like hierarchical structure you're placing within the friendship, then you'll never have any friends, because each person has so many things about them that in this environment, you could be the best or the worst at this. And in the next environment, you can be the best and worst at this. So when you're with your friends, don't have that competitive mindset. And so this is allowing your brain to, a lot of times what will happen is that when we go in bouts of training, when we go in bouts of high stressful work environments, we go into a narrow focused mindset of competition. And so we're focused on a singular goal, a singular place, and we're driving towards that. And we're pushing down a unique pathway. And we may see progress or we may not see progress. But the issue in this is that a lot of times we never understand how to shift ourselves out of this state. And if you can never consciously shift yourself out of this state, what will happen is that this will bleed into every single other marker of your life. And you'll begin to see family members in a state of competition. You'll see the people you live around in states of competition. This is why the analogy of comparing yourself to the Joneses, this is where this comes from. You'll see people online. You'll see like it's almost like a disease, almost like your entire framework of being is in a narrow focus. And so when your entire state of being is within a narrow focus, what will happen is that your mindset is set on just quick, easy things. And so this isn't good for you when you're trying to relax, because you'll be sitting on the couch and you'll be, all right, you'll take a second to just watch a show or something. And now because you're still in that state of narrow focus, you start critiquing every single thing about the characters on the show. You start critiquing what the characters are wearing. You start critiquing the storyline. You start critiquing how the pace of the show. You start critiquing how long the show is. You start critiquing the voice of the characters. And then let's say you're relaxing from your training. Let's say you're supposed to have an off day. Well, you start critiquing how difficult the workout is. You start critiquing the movements. You start critiquing. And so there's no end to the stress. There's no end to the tension. So and then when you go back into your main bouts of training, you don't feel rested. You don't even feel like you even had an off day, because there was never a time where you were able to just sit back and relax. And so the main point and the main reason for having relaxation is so that you can refuel the tank so that when you're ready to go again, you can go full steam. And so I see this with a lot of individuals when they're working 9-to-5 jobs. They will start Monday kind of groggy, and then they'll pick up steam probably around like mid-Tuesday, and then Wednesday on hump day is usually when they're at their most like productive and efficient. And then Thursday, there tends to be a little bit of a drop off, and then Friday everyone's just looking towards the weekend. But what will happen is that certain individuals, when they don't turn off and they're still going, they will have things still, the work will streamline into the weekend. It'll streamline the Saturday and the Sunday. And then by the time Monday rolls around, it's like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even have a weekend. And so there has to be bouts where like everyone loves David Goggins, and David Goggins is a tremendous human being. But even David Goggins, in his strong willfulness and his toughness and his hardness, he creates small pockets of relaxation. So he talks about this. There was a podcast he was on, and he said, there's pockets throughout the day where I take time and I know, all right, this is a moment when I can relax. And I do this same thing as well. So for some individuals, they view this as highly stressful and highly, cause a lot of tension. But for me, I use it as a relaxation period. So when I'm in the car and I'm driving, right, I'll put on music. I'll put on soothing music that is entertaining to me, so that on my way either to work, from work, or when I'm about to go to training, or let's say something goes on, that's my time where I can go within my mind and say, okay, this is my time to relax. And it's almost like a mental warm up before the main bout of training. The same thing applies to my training. I have a period before I start my main training where it's like a warm up. And during the warm up, and this is a warm up before I'm doing like any movement primers or mobility or anything to get the heart rate going. This is just a mental, okay, we're about to train. Now we can go. And then when I have my cheat days, I have a cheat day once a week. And on my cheat day, I do not think about the extremely healthy eating I have to do the next day and for the upcoming 6 days. Why? Because if I was just thinking about on my cheat day, the fact that I have to eat healthy and I have to constantly worry about what I'm eating every single second, then when I shift back to the next day of healthy eating, it's like, damn, I never even had a cheat day. That cheat day sucked. But if on my cheat day, I can be like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna buy that croissant. I'm gonna buy that Cinnabon. I'm gonna buy that piece of pizza. Kind of like how Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson does it. Like he just says, you know what? I'm just turn off. I'm a chow down on these pancakes. I'm a chow down on this pizza, and you just go in. Then when it's time for you to turn back on and be 100% in, now you're 100% in. This is in religions, they talk about this. Like in Buddhism, it's like there is suffering. Like you must suffer, but there's also an end to suffering. And fitness is essentially self-imposed suffering on oneself. And then like you're not always training. Like there's an end to training. There's a point in period where you're not training anymore. And then that's the end of suffering. And then in Judaism, there's the Sabbath day. So they have days of work and they have days of Sabbath. It's a day where you can recover, even in a spiritual sense, mindfulness, presence, and being in meditation. These are all periods of relaxation. These are all periods where you take the chaos that is within mind and you allow it to cease for a minute. I talked about this in the last episode. This is why I created this episode, because meditation is a form of relaxation, and you can have meditation be a hobby, and it can become more and more if you decide for it to be more, but it can be something where you do it and it can lead to very healthy benefits, not just you just sitting there and you're not thinking, but it can be a time where your body can, and I see this all the time when I am interacting with individuals and I'm training them, or if I'm in the gym, especially with men. I see this all the time with men. Men, with our traps, we're always stressed. We're carrying a lot of tension within our bodies. And so what I'll see with men is I'll see men just super like hyped up. And we're like this because we as men, we always have to be on guard. We always have to be prepared to either protect our loved ones or protect ourselves. And so I'll see a lot of men is that they're super uptight and they're almost in a fighting stance, even though they don't know it, or they're not even in a fighting environment. And so what I'll tell a lot of men when I see them doing training, I'll tell them, hey, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to take a deep breath in, fill the lung with air, and then I want you to fully relax. And what I'll notice is that I'll notice their shoulders. Those shoulders will decrease in elevation, and I'll notice their traps is fully relaxed. And this might lead to a decrease in neck pain. This might lead to a decrease in upper back pain, because when you're like this and elevated, you're overusing certain muscles. And so when you're overusing certain muscles, you're not activating other muscles that are supposed to be aiding in specific movement or in posture. And so, guys, I highly suggest relaxation. Fishing is very good. Nature walks. I would do things that isn't too predicated on you placing lots of chemicals in the body. Yes, going to the bar and having a couple drinks could be a form of relaxation, but submitting your liver to that kind of stress in the kidneys like that, I that's up to you. I wouldn't suggest drugs on anyone. So whatever your form of relaxation is, that's for you. Dancing can be relaxing to people. So it's up for you to determine, what do you find relaxing? For me, I like to write. Writing is very relaxing for me. Also reading. Reading is very relaxing for me. I do meditation. I also go on walks. Walking is very relaxing for me. Also, I like to sit in the sauna. Sitting in the sauna for me is very relaxive. I'll play video games every now and then. That's also relaxing. And unless I'm playing 2K or Madden and the game gets competitive, then it's like, this isn't really a relaxing thing anymore. But for you, it's depending on your personality and what works for you and what really will help you to be in that relaxed state. And you will know when you're in a relaxed state because you're not consciously thinking. Like right now, if you guys have watched the episode up to this point, during the introduction and during the first about 2-3 minutes of the episode, I was very uptight and I was very conscious about the words that I was saying. But over time, if you've watched the video up to this point, you can tell that my body has relaxed. And so this is the power of relaxation. It takes your mind off of being so forceful, and it allows you to flow. So it's very important for you guys. If you don't have hobbies, I highly suggest you get hobbies. Not everything can be work. There's a reason why rest days exist. I highly, highly, highly suggest you guys implement rest days, not just in training, but into life. You can't work every day. You can't, engage in the same thing every day. There has to be a period where you go away from, and then the body will begin to work on itself and adapt. It's like, I'll meet people and they believe that mistakenly that while they're in the gym, that's where they are growing and evolving. Guys, no. When you're in the gym, you're placing stress, load, and tension on the body at varying levels of frequency and set durations of time. What that is doing is that is essentially, quotation marks, damaging the body, destruction. And then once you leave that environment, you go home, and nutrition, you place chemicals, food, within the body, which cause certain reactions that is in favor for the adaptation and evolution process. And after that, during the sleep process, there is a refilling up of the CNS and PNS. And then after that, once you wake up, now the body has reached a new state, a new level. And so you do this over and over and over again until you see gains. And so the main problem with modern day fitness within the fitness industry is that a lot of individuals do not understand the history behind fitness. They do not understand the history behind health and wellness for us as human beings, stemming all the way back to the dawn of time, even before the dawn of time, when there existed nothing but nothing. And so fitness began, like, how fit is the universe? I talked about this in a previous episode. How fit is the earth? How fit is the planet? From there, that streamed all the way down to us organisms. And then it became, all right, survival of the fittest. Who is the fittest to survive within this harsh environment and terrain? And then from there, fitness has taken on different shapes and forms within modern society. I'm saying modern, but every single present moment is modern, quotation marks. And going all the way until now. So fitness has looked differently depending on what the collective has deemed as necessary. And so what the collective has deemed necessary in today's environment is that fitness is based off of aesthetic, right? Why? Because for men are very visual creatures. So a lot of times men only go after what they see as appeasing to the eyes, sweet to the ears, and nice to the tasty to the taste buds. And so men choose the most physically attractive women that they can. And men will compete in order to get resources and status and power and money, and then position themselves. And then whoever that woman is, who's the most attractive, quotation marks, that woman will then go to the man who has all those things. Yes, there's nuances to this, but that is the general thing within the broader sphere of society. And so obviously aesthetics plays a role in this. If a man has done all these things and there's a female human and he doesn't deem her to be attractive, then that might play an issue in the polarity. Now, there's obviously more things going on under the surface, but the issue with this is that this isn't really fitness. Yes, you're physically fit, and you might be fit within being able to maneuver yourself throughout the hierarchical nature or the supposed hierarchical nature of modern society, quotation marks, but within the broader sphere of overall health, wellness, and the true nature of fitness, it is essentially meaningless. And so the collective has begun to revert its stance on what fitness should be, and it's moving more towards longevity, vitality, and high quality. And so the human collective is trying to figure out in what ways can we increase lifespan, and not just increase lifespan, but keep individuals' self-efficiency and autonomy while increasing the lifespan. So there's no point in increasing the lifespan to 100, 110, 120, and after 80 years old, you're in a diaper in a nursing home. That's essentially besides the point. So that's what the collective is working on now. So fitness in the past was just pure survival, and now, and then, so quick timeline of fitness. And the reason I'm going in on this is because once you understand the purpose of fitness, you being able to go into states of relaxation is very important. So the first instance was creation, right? Then it was survival. Then it was protection. Then it was performance. Then it was aesthetic. And now it is longevity and vitality. So that's the streamline of humans' need and application of the tool of fitness from the dawn to now. Like you'll see individuals and they'll say, well, how fit is he for this job? Well, how fit is this rock to be a placeholder to keep this door open? So that's how fitness, like how fit is this tool in aiding us in creating fire, and then it streamlined from there. So utilize that. Going into key number 2, sleep. There's a book called Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. I am pretty sure I got his name right, but it's a very important book. I highly suggest all of you read it. Sleep is extremely essential for us as humans. I'm not going to go into the science and the details of it. I would read that book by Dr. Matthew Walker. I would suggest Andrew Huberman's podcast. I would suggest Ben Polkowski's. I will look into his YouTube channel. He does a phenomenal job of going in depth and talking to scientific experts on specific subjects. I would look at his, so within the sphere of, and I'm saying health and wellness because essentially everything is health and wellness. Fitness is just a tool to aiding us in maximizing our health and wellness. But essentially, there are individuals that specialize within certain niches, so to speak. And so obviously, Andrew Huberman is a neuroscientist and ophthalmologist at Stanford School of Medicine, but he is very good at going into the details of fitness. Ben Polkowski is very good at finding new information on the outer stretches of the field of health and wellness. And then you have Paul Chek. Paul Chek is a holistic practitioner and amazing at going into the spiritual nature of fitness of us as humans. I am the individual who gives a spiritual side and a psychological side to fitness. And I give individuals the broader scope and understanding of fitness so that when they go within the industry, that they see, okay, now I know who I should be looking towards. So in understanding this, once you are introduced to a new concept, mechanism, or tool within fitness, you then need to find the individual that specializes in that. So for sleep, Go to the individual that is a sleep expert, especially if you're struggling with sleep, if you're struggling with getting into deep states of sleep, not just, you know, REM sleep, but deep REM sleep. Like, sleep will do so much for you. I talked in the previous episode, I cannot function without at least 8 hours of sleep. Yes, in some cases, I can go 6 hours, but I have to make sure that I'm prepared for that. But some individuals, they can run off of 5 hours of sleep. Some individuals can go a night without sleeping. Every single person is a little different. And so it's figuring out, okay, what is the baseline for my sleep, tracking your sleep, and then from there, going into what could be causing some of the underlying problems with your sleep. It could be I wouldn't sleep with super bright lights on. The TV could be a problem. A lot of individuals have TVs in their room. I would take the TV out. Some individuals sleep with their phone right by them. Some individuals have used their phone as an alarm. No issue with this, but I would just don't place it like some individuals like tuck their phones like right next to their head. There's electromagnetic frequencies that is being emitted from the phone. And we as humans, there's a lot of devices and technology that we as humans, we're still learning not just the psychological effects, but the long-term underlying health effects too as well. We have no idea what's going to happen to us. So I would just be cautious of certain things. I don't want to make anyone paranoid or super anxious, but just be aware that we don't really understand the full scope of the potential negative downsides of some of the technology that we humans have been just pumping out to everyday modern society. And so whatever you feel comfortable with doing, that's on you. Some people sleep with a sleep mask. Some people sleep with a CPAP. So it's figuring out, okay, what could potentially be causing bad sleep for me? And then exercise will help you with getting better sleep. So if you've been sitting on the couch all day and the body hasn't done anything, and then you try to go to sleep and you're like, man, I can't get any sleep. Well, the body doesn't, and I felt this in the past when I didn't work out too much. Like I would try to go to sleep and I couldn't sleep for some reason. I'm like, why am I trying to sleep? Or if it's a day where I got up late and then I did some work and then I have to go to sleep early because let's say I have work or I have something going on the next day. Like then I'll find it difficult to go to sleep. Well, your body is like, I haven't done anything. You essentially just been there all day. So it's physical activity will aid in exhausting some of the energy that's within your body. And then your body will be like, oh, now I need sleep. Then you'll go to sleep. You'll refill that tank and then you'll be ready to go. So I tremendously hope you guys are getting good sleep. And I would play around with different, obviously, too, as well. Let's talk about sleep positions. I call myself a free floating sleeper. So what I mean by this is that I will start in one position and then I'll end in any random position. I have you could probably imagine think up. There's people that they go to sleep in this position, they'll wake up in that position, almost like a zombie. It's kind of scary, but it's up to you. Like, allow yourself to figure out like how do you sleep? Like sleep is actually like a very, like we sleep for so long. Like think about this, like if you got 8 hours of sleep and you work 8 hours a day, right? You're essentially like in a 5-day period, that's 40 hours of sleep and that's 40 hours of work. So you're essentially sleeping as much as you're working. And when you're at work, you're like doing all this. You got to make sure that, the boss is happy and that you're getting all your tasks done and that you're forecasting things and that, you're working on your career, you're networking. And then for sleep, for some reason, we as humans, we just, I just turn on, like I don't really think about it. I'll meet individuals and it's like recently, because I've worked on my sleep so much, I've been having so many dreams and like profound dreams. And not even like profound dreams. I have control while in the dream. I'm like lucidly dreaming. It's kind of cool because it's like every night I go to sleep now, I'm almost excited to go to sleep because it's like now I have a new fun dream. So for you guys, if you're not dreaming, that means that you got some work to do. That means that you got to get your sleep together. Not saying that you should be having these profound dreams every night, but every once in a while, like you should have a dream. Like think about when you were a child, right? Like you had dreams. And then as we got older as humans, like you just stopped dreaming. Like your internal consciousness shouldn't just be pitch black. That means we got a ton of work to do. If you go to sleep every single night and it's just dark, that means you got no dreams, no aspirations, no vision. Every single night when you go to sleep, it needs to be a movie. And you need to wake up refreshed. Imagine you go to sleep and you got a bomb dream. You wake up refreshed. What? Guys, I highly suggest you read that book while we sleep. My grandfather gave it to me. I read it. It was a wonderful book. Also, I would Google the author. I would watch all his podcasts. I would then find other sleep experts. I would go down that entire rabbit hole. Guys, you almost sleep as much as you're awake. For some people, I would highly get that in order and get that in check, because this could change your entire life. This could be the reason. This could be the difference from you living to 65 or 105. That literally could be the difference. So pay very close attention to that. 3, calmness. Guys, keep your peace. When you're out in everyday life, you're in a whirlwind. You're around a lot of chaos. Not that everything around you is chaos, but a lot of things are unforeign to you. A lot of things are unfamiliar. And when you're in unfamiliarity, it creates chaos. I talk about myself. I used to go out sometimes and I'll be just in random states of fear. And I just be like, man, why do I feel so fearful right now? And I realized was that because I was in a foreign environment, I was always on edge. I did some deep psychological work, and I realized that it was my shadow trying to warn me of potential threats that was surrounding me. And so once I realized that, then I realized, oh, what I'm feeling is I'm feeling potential problems going on. There might be someone with, a knife on them. There might be someone with a gun around. There might be someone with. So guys, when you become hyper aware, it's almost like a superpower. You can pick up on subtleties. And so there might be someone with, it's like having spider senses, right? You're like, okay, like I feel a little on edge. I feel a little tense. Why is this? Someone watching me? If someone potentially have bad intentions. And so which calmness does is calmness allows you to not allow yourself to be paranoid and be highly anxious. And so this will also help you individuals with hot tempers. And so I apologize for you individuals with kids. This is going to be extremely hard for you to do. Kids by themselves is chaos, but over time, as they get older, there will be more and more order and things will get a little bit easier for you. But if you do not have kids, then you need to create peace. Like your living environment needs to be almost like a Zen-like place. Like it almost needs to be like a temple when you walk into wherever you live. Because what this will allow it, when you leave, this will have you in a state of extreme peace and calmness and familiarity with self, so that when you go out and you're hit with unfamiliarity, you can stay grounded within yourself. And so nothing is able to knock you off center, even if someone starts randomly yelling at you while you're driving down the road. You'll be able to be like, oh man, he must just had a bad day. It'll help you for if you're, standing in line and you just ordered some food and there are people up there are taking a while. You'll just stand and be like, well, I understand what it feels to be behind there and sitting there making, pizza or coffee all day and your feet hurt and your hands are tired and you really don't want to do this. You just want to go home and you probably have like 4, maybe 5 more hours left and you have like 10 people standing behind me right now. I'm just going to relax. And so it's you being the chill on the fire. So you'll see some individuals, man, let's say you're going to work and something's going down at work, right? There was argument, there was a confrontation, and now there's a fire at work. You need to be the person that when you walk in the room, everyone's like, oh, thank God. If you're the person, when you walk in the room, everyone's like, oh man, that means you're the fire. You're the fuel. But if you walk in the room and everyone's like, we good. Like that means you're the cool, you're the chillness. But also in going with training, this is also knowing when to stop. It's also knowing when you're going a little too far. Now, if you're training for a particular sport, or if you're training, and I brought up David Goggins here on the episode. David Goggins is training for like mentals and hardness and life. That's a little bit different. So he's on a different journey. And if you decide to walk down that path, then disregard this. But if you are training for like a sport, or if you're training for just general like everyday health and wellness, then there is a point where you need, or going back to shifting to David Goggins, if you're in CrossFit, disregard this. But I'll take that back. CrossFit, we'll go to the other side. What David Goggins is doing, completely different. But on the flip side, on this side, the left, you gotta know when you can press a break, like chill. So a lot of individuals they'll start training, and I've seen this before, and I'll see this in certain individuals. Like you see the guy who he's trying to do a deadlift, and I've seen this in gyms before, and they'll keep going back to the weight, right? Like they believe that because they can't do this thing, or they can't achieve this thing in the moment, that it's failure, that it's loss, that it's not them. And so then when I see it, it's like having calmness is knowing that going into every training session without having your hand, not just having control, but it's going into the training session without any expectations. So this is really how you train for the long term. And this is how you continue to have fun with fitness. So a lot of individuals, they'll start and they'll have certain, set numbers, set goals, set markers. But if you want to do it for the long term, staying calm is, man, this training day, it sucked. And it's okay with that. It's being okay with the fact that you walked in a training session. Let's say you're a aspiring basketball player, and you go in a training session and you want to hit 100 threes, right? And you put up 2,000 shots and you get to like 98 threes, right? But you've been there for like 4 hours. At some point, you got to be like, all right, dog, like, it's not my day. I remember when I played football, being calm is, dog, I just got ran over. This dude I've had times I got run over. I got times where I got put on my back. I got times where like I missed a tackle, and you just got to forget about it and move on and come back to the next play and go just as hard. So being calm is understanding that there's going to be fire. There's going to be, some stress. There's going to be some tension. There's going to be some load. There's going to be some burdens. But you're just cool. You're just chilling. Anyway, going into key number 4, I talked about waves and flows. So there's a time for war and a time for peace. When you are at war, that's essentially what you're doing when you're engaging with fitness. When you're at war, you go all in, right? Like going back to the next one, calm. Like you're calm because every time you come back to it, you're going to go on and you're going to give it your best. But it's also knowing that as soon as you're done, I did what I had to do today. I'm moving on. It's not going back to what I see in the gym sometimes. Like if you miss the lift, like let's say you're a power lifter and you want it 500 pounds a day and you miss the lift, dog, it's cool. It's cool, dog. It's not your day. Every dog has his day. Try it again next week. Try it again 2 weeks from now. It's fine. You'll live to fight another day. Let's say you're playing a sport and you had a bad game. Well, cool. We all have bad days. Just come back. Let's say, like in war, like you might have a bad battle, but that doesn't mean you lost the war. It just means you had a bad battle. And if you want to win the war, it's not getting stuck on that one battle. It's moving on and preparing for the next one. And learning from the mistakes of the last battle so that when you go to the next battle, now you're coming from a better understanding. Now you place yourself in a potential aspect of success. Now, I play a lot of chess. And so I play chess against AI. I put it on the most difficult setting. Not gonna lie. AI be having its way with me. Every single time I play it, it be doing things I can't. I've tried so many things to beat it. So many things to beat it. Thinking outside the box. Doing things that no one in the traditional chess setting would ever do. I just think just having its way with me. But every single time I come back, I get better and better and better and better. Right? Now I can predict what the AI is going to do. Because I've seen it so much. I still can't beat it because it's wild, but I can predict its moves. So when you have war and peace, the peace exists for a reason. When you're getting ready to go to war, what did you learn? If you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, that's a definition of insanity. If you keep losing and you make no changes, you make no adjustments, then there's an issue. It's like you'll see people on YouTube. Go to some of the most successful YouTubers. Watch their first episode and watch their most recent episode. Does it look exactly the same? It does not. While they're making the YouTube channel, they're at war. Then there's peace in between the next video, and they're at war again. Guys, with your training, exact same thing. When you go and you're beginning to train, or you're dealing with fitness, you're at war, and then there's peace. During the peace, you can sit down, you be like, while you're relaxing, chilling, man, I was doing those squats. This is really how I became so good at my body. Because during the times I wasn't training, I would be replaying and getting feedback from the training session. And I would say, man, squats were off today. What was that? What's up with my hips? What's up with my ankles? Did I eat something that threw me off? Did something bug me at work? Maybe I need to talk to some of my coworkers and just hash some things out. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe I need to not eat this thing before I start training. Maybe I need to wear a different pair of shoes, right? This is how you begin to advance and really see. By not doing, this is how you make progress. Because if your solution was, I'm just going to keep squatting, you'll never know why you're not squatting correctly. But it's only when you sit back and you're like, okay, why? Start asking questions. Going into the final key, rest days. So this whole thing is really about rest. This is what this whole episode is about. How fit are your rest days? Or is your rest day a rest day at all? Or is your rest day just another work day just disguised as something else? So what I mean by that is individuals will say, oh, I'm off from work, but and I realize this. So I would see a lot of progress just in life. I'm talking about this. I'm shifting this to life because this is very important. You guys are going to get a lot of value from this. What I would see in my life was, and I started like, when I say like bottom in terms of like where I worked, like I started working at Taco Bell. And then like, because of my work ethic, like guys, I'm talking about like, it's crazy. But like I would work and then I would see tremendous progress. And I'm talking about like life progress, like go to college, playing football, got out of college, start working at a gym, got my personal training cert, became a fitness director. Then afterwards, I started powerlifting. And then from there, there's a little bit of a valley. There was another pick, became fitness director, but now I was in DC. Then I became an operations manager. Then I started my own business. There's a little bit of a valley because business wasn't successful. Now I'm doing something else. And I'm doing this and other things. So one of the things I would see and I would notice before, I would see more progress or I would have a valley, was that I began to put too much on my plate. I began to have too many burdens. I began to place too much load on myself. And this would cause me to have so much stress that I would become overwhelmed. And then my entire being would have to stop in order for me to either re-engage or to evolve. And so I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and I told him this. I said, right before every single time I get to that next level, there's always this like tremendous tension that goes on within myself. And he said, you're doing too much. And individuals, like, I would work, like do a regular job, then I would work on a business, and I would train, and I would do a whole bunch of other things. So for you individuals, like, what is your rest day? And your rest day you don't have to have a rest day once a week. It could be a rest day every 2 weeks. It could be a rest day once a month. But having the rest day is extremely important. It gives you time to do reflection. It gives you time to prepare. It gives you so many things. But without doing it, you don't want to, and I don't want to say the word break, but you don't want to get to a point where you become so overwhelmed and so overburdened where you literally wake up one day and you're like, you can't move, or you get extremely sick out of nowhere. And you get so sick that it's like your body is like telling you, dog, either you stop or I'm gonna stop this. So having rest days is extremely important because the rest is what will get you to that next level. A lot of times, a lot of individuals, you're seeing roadblocks, not from a lack of effort or not from a lack of willpower or want to. You're seeing roadblocks simply because you're not allowing yourself to adapt. You're not allowing yourself to heal. You're not allowing yourself to grow. So sometimes the best doing is not doing for a little while before you can do more. And so it's taking a step back and saying, all right, do I have too much on my plate? What can I handle? What can I not handle? What is taking too much from me? And so, like, this is very good with your training, right? Like, you're going to a training session. Some individuals, they only have 60 minutes to train. Some individuals only got 30 minutes to train. Some individuals, you can train for 2 hours. So it's seeing when you go into the training, like, okay, like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is pointless. Maybe this is just a placebo, right? Take that away. And now, instead of your training session like being like 60 minutes, it's now like 45 minutes. Now you just save yourself some time. Now you can go do something else. And now you're not doing something that's taken away from you. You're doing something that is actually going to help you see progress. So that's all the keys I have for you guys today in this week's episode of the Flow University YouTube channel. I hope this was of tremendous value. I hope you all enjoyed the rest of your day and stay blessed.